Before entering into a relationship with anyone, especially a romantic one, you need to answer those 7 questions. As we continue our series, Family Matters, a kingdom blueprint for the family, today we're focusing on Some Assembly Required Part 2. What country are you from? Did you know your father and mother's parenting pattern helped shape your personality expression, which I'll be referring to today as your emotional country as we go through our series, as that pattern is most likely a reflection or product of the dominant parent's pattern and their personality. Each family member's individual personality expression was either in sync or out of sync with the dominant parent's personality and their pattern. A lot has to do with the context in which we grew up and how we grew up or survived that situation. We won't come out unscathed positively or negatively. It will have an impact. It will have an influence on how we see things, hear things, and say things. In the prior session, we talked about 7 things you need to know about someone if you remotely think about having a relationship with them. And those 7 things are identification, their whole name; location, what is the place of their origin? Where did they come from? Population, what family size did they come out of? Communication, how do they communicate their words and what do they mean to them? Designation, what is the flag that identifies that particular home? Their government style or legislation, how do they determine and make decisions? And capital, who is basically the president, who called the shots? In today's session, you're going to find out why it's urgently important to know the answers to these 7 questions. When a man and woman consider a relationship, whether following Yahweh's blueprint or not, and you should, it's the coming together of 2 countries, 2 emotional countries. People from different countries have different customs, traditions, and ways of doing things. And while they may even use some of the same words, they'll probably have vastly different meaning. You know, it's much easier to see the differences when you compare countries like the United States and Israel, because in the United States, we speak English, and in Israel, the native language is Hebrew. Well, it's more challenging to see those differences when you compare the United States with the country of England. Why? Because in England, the native language is English. Little story. While in Europe, there was an American who met a young couple from England. They had their toddler with them, and they were having a really great time. Everybody was really friendly, and this gentleman really liked kids, and so he was really being playful with them, and they were having a good time. At some point, while they were having this fun time, he said, "Hey, come here, you little bugger." And the parents' eyes shot open wide. They snatched the hand of their toddler and they left the room where they were. The American was like, "Oh my gosh, what just happened here?" There was someone else that was traveling with them who was from the country. And he said, "Oh, what just happened here?" And the person from England, another person from England said, "In the land and the country of England, a bugger is a sodomite." The American said, "Oh my goodness." And he tried to apologize to the parents, but they weren't having it. "You called our child a bugger?" Not having it. So you see here, it's a funny term of endearment, so to speak. But in other countries, it might not be the same. What happened there? It was a country conflict. We love the language and traditions of our own emotional country. However, we're often misunderstood, or we may offend others because we didn't know that their perspective was different than ours. These differences initially often attract us to one another. However, while we might be attracted by some of these differences, after we get married, these are some of the same things that drive us crazy. The young lady talks to the counselor and she says, "He was playful and fun-loving when we met and when we were dating. after we got married, it looks like he just doesn't take anything seriously. He didn't change, but her expectations did. My wife has a phrase, look deep before you leap. We have too many people leaping off the romantic cliffs and falling into they have no idea what. Oh my goodness. But this doesn't happen only in marriages. Parents who have children who are from another emotional country don't understand them. They think it's a mini me. Our children, for the most part, are not mini me's. Yahweh just used us to bring them into the earth to prepare them for his greater service. And some might be like us in many ways, but for the most part, their core being, he has designed for the purpose he has in mind. These country conflicts can show up in the workplace, in the supermarket, and yes, even in the church. Well, if this is all around us, and it is, let's take a closer look at these 4 emotional countries. Each of us comes from an emotional country, as I said. The context of that country will have an impact and influence on how I see, hear from, and speak to the world. Do I see it as a controlling or fun or orderly or peaceful place? We're going to take a look at, in this series, Family Matters, Some Assembly Required. What country are you from? We're going to begin with the country of control. In the country of control, which has a rectangular shape, everything is black and white. The focus of the people in this country, get it done, task-oriented. They can be intense, their actions can be abrupt, and they can even put out some pretty strong vibes. They often sound impatient and are usually more interested in talking than listening. Their words can come across as intense, and their words can be quick, abrupt, and sometimes curt or to the point. They use words like get it done, appreciate, accomplish. If you use these words when you're talking with them, you'll get their attention because that's their language. Their greatest desire, believe it or not, is appreciation for what they do. If they don't get the appreciation they so desperately need, they'll actually become depressed and seek other ways to find that appreciation. And it's amazing because they're working so hard to get it done that they may run over people because their favorite vehicle is a bulldozer. And sometimes they bulldoze people closest to them. They don't realize it. They're totally unaware of the impact that they have on them. But when the flattened person says, hey, look what you're doing to me, the control person might say, oh, wow, but look what we've done. They're focused on just getting it done. They see themselves sort of like the conductor of the orchestra, always in the lead and usually running things. These are the people that will really try to take over anything that they're involved in because they know what's right. Well, at least to them. They may tend to talk more than they listen, and that's true. When, though, we give them the appreciation for what they do, really trying to encourage their strengths while we are aware that they have some supporting areas, when they're on their game, man, they're leaders. They have tons of confidence. They set and they reach their goals, and they're quite independent. They're bold and they're quick to take action, sometimes a little too quick. They kind of shoot first and ask questions later. But when they're off their game, oh man, they can come across as being bossy, impatient, demanding, know-it-alls. They display arrogance and a quick temper. The people from the country of control will do whatever it takes to try and control the outcome of anything they're connected with. This can be helpful, that is, when the bulldozer doesn't get in the way. Then we move on to the country of fun. The star symbolizes fun country, want to be the star of the show. That's right. Their focus, have fun. The jet plane is their vehicle of choice and represents high speed with no limits. Unfortunately, they may crash into brick walls from time to time. But you know what they do? They dust themselves off and go find another jet to get into because that was fun. Not just hitting the wall, but the exhilaration, I want to do it again. And so these people would make great salespeople. They're the ones who you say, no, I don't want this. Say, are you sure you don't want that? Because we can give you a great deal on that. No, I don't want that. Well, okay, then. But if you do want anything, I'm right over here. Then they go to the next person. Hey, do you want this? No, I don't want that. Well, how about this? And they're like, they won't. Okay, you give me all these no's because I know that there's a yes out there. And that's them, because they say, hey, there's an optimistic way to look at things in life, because things are going to go my way. I just have to keep moving forward till I see it and have a great time along the way. Now, people from the country of fun, they can be considered chatty by the other countries, and their big emotional highs and their deep emotional lows. Sometimes they're being mistaken as, well, they're kind of unstable. They don't know if they're up or down. It kind of depends on what's going on. You see, the reality is they're looking for the upside of a thing. And when they don't see that, they're just working hard because they think that life should be a lot of fun. Yes, they know how to take things seriously, but again, not so seriously that it takes the fun out of life. They smile a lot, especially like when they're talking with you, whether they're talking with you in person or if they're talking on the phone, they're smiling. As a matter of fact, if you're trained to work in a call center, they train you to smile when you talk. Why? Because that smile over a phone actually communicates a pleasant and an upbeat attitude. And that's what you want to do. So like I said, they smile a lot. They use words like, really? Oh, that was a good time. Or that's great. Hey, let's have some fun. When you use terms like this, when you're speaking to them, you'll get their ear. Problem that many of us encounter is we try to use our own language when we're talking to someone from another country, and we don't understand why they don't understand the words that are coming out of our mouth. It's because they're our words and not their words. If you want to effectively communicate with someone, it's extremely important that you learn how to speak to the language of the recipient. What if you have a mixed group? Like when you're preaching or speaking or in a classroom, you have to realize you're going to have multiple recipients. So you've got to be as broad as possible by speaking to the different ones so that you don't lose anyone. When they're on their game, the people from the country of fun, they're enthusiastic, they are optimistic, they're inspirational, they have a great sense of humor, and they really do love people. But when they're off their game, they may seem to talk too much, that chatty thing. They may exaggerate. They may say, oh my goodness, there must have been 100 people there. And since you were at the same event, you said, I think I only counted 15 or 20. But see, to them, there were people there, and we're going to have a good time. It's going to be great. As a matter of fact, if you're putting on the show, you really want them being your cheerleader, because they will really at least make you feel like things are good and they're going to get better. But again, when they're off their game, they may seem to talk too much, exaggerate, seem to be irresponsible, undisciplined, and easily distracted. I didn't say they are these things, but they can come across this way. You see, the people from the country of fun, they will do whatever it takes to try and have a good time, not just for them, but for those that are around them also. This can be great. That is, when the jet plane stays on course. Next, we have the country of perfect. Perfect country is the opposite of fun country. Trust me on this one. The difference is the residents of fun country don't like to pay attention to detail. Give me just enough information to keep it moving. Where the perfect country people thrive on detail. Can you give me some more information? Well, you want to go, I want to go there. Where is there? I need some more if you happen to be a person from perfect country. Their diamond-shaped land represents their longing to be precise and exact in all that they do. Their focus, get it right. That's the whole thing, get it right. Their vehicle is the train on the tracks. Why? We know where we're going. We have an idea as to how long it may get there. We know our destination. We have security in knowing some things that will be consistent, precise, and accurate. People from the country of perfect are not flawlessly perfect, but they want predictability and know where they're going. They're sometimes confused with the control people, and they're called control freaks. But really, A person from the perfect country does not want to control the environment. Their desire is that everything is right before we move forward. Because when everything is right, everything will go well. They tend to view the world through, well, magnifying glass. Everything they see is really larger than what it may be. And it drives them crazy when things are wrong. Misspelled words or mispronounced words seem to leap out at them whenever they're reading or listening to things. I happen to be from that country, and I was at a meeting at work not too long ago doing some audio visual support for them. And as they were giving their presentation, they were going through all these things. And I happened to notice they were talking about things that they were doing around the country. And I was looking at one of the slides they had up there. Why did the word Israel, misspelled, jump out at me? I don't know, but I see those things. When people write things, misspelled words, run-on sentences, things just leap out at me and say, hey, do you see this? And I'm thinking I can't help but see it because that's just how my country is. Sorry. But it might be that magnifying glass effect that causes those things to jump out. I want to tell you, though, the greatest need is for order for a perfect person that is from that country. And they can place it as a priority over other things. If they're a believer, they might quote 1 Corinthians 14:40. Be sure everything is done properly and in order. Or if you're King James, make sure everything is done decently and in order. You need to know, though, this country is where the most creative folks come from. The great artists, writers, poets, musicians, inventors, architects, and technicians. They're very creative and sensitive people. Understand this. If you're going to fly on a plane, you don't want a fun person to design it because they're just going to design it for fun. They might miss a few screws somewhere. You want a perfect person designing the plane you're going to go on. Why? Because they overpay attention to detail. Very important. If you speak with them and you show that you are, how can I say it? They accept you more willingly or what you have to say when you use words that they like to hear. Because when you speak their language, that's good. Things like, yeah, that's right. Or, well, how does that feel? Or, well, here's some more details. And when you do this, you'll see them on their game. They're faithful, persistent, idealistic, creative, thoughtful, and organized. But you see, they need you to take their sensitivity and need for validation into account. Because if you don't, they'll tend to withdraw from you, and that will knock them off their game. And when they're off their game, they tend to remember more negative things. They will tend to be moody or get depressed. They may be even guilty, overthinking things. Their standards will typically be too high because their standards are for themselves. They don't realize everyone is not them. And they can become insecure. The people from the country of perfect will do whatever it takes to establish and ensure orderliness, because this is a good thing. That is, when the magnifying glass isn't overused. Finally, we land on the country of peace. This is the land of overwhelming harmony and cooperation. Really. Like clouds which move along at a leisurely pace, so do the people of peace country. Their focus, can we just get along? Their favorite Bible verse is Psalm 46:10. Be still and know that I'm God. But they really go back to that first part. Be still. Their favorite way to travel is like on a gondola, one of those boats that gently float along the calm waters, like in Vienna. They really don't like emotional waves. The peace people believe everyone should get along and have a stress-free lifestyle, one without conflict. When they speak, they don't use a lot of lows and highs. They want to stay calm and relaxed, sort of like an FM radio personality after 9 p.m. One thing to note about them is they have an overwhelming need for respect. Because of their agreeable nature, sometimes this is mistaken for gullibility or being wishy-washy. Not so. They just feel more can be done through cooperation than coercion. When they are respected, they come across as competent, consistent, witty, patient, and they make good listeners. Well, wow, that's great, isn't it? Well, talking requires energy. And if they don't have to talk, then they'll let you do all the talking. So they just say, nod and say, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. However, if conflict enters their environment or if they feel they're being disrespected, they may come across as fearful, worried, maybe even shy, unmotivated, indecisive, resistant to change, and can't be pushed. I know some people who are from this country, and they seem very docile and peaceful people. But what I learned was the people from the country of peace have this invisible line. And when you breach that line, you cross that border, you see a different side of them you didn't know they had. They will go so far, farther than most people in the other three countries. But if you step over that line, they will push back. The people from the country of peace will do whatever it takes to stay calm and relaxed. This is a good thing. That is, when their need for respect doesn't get them derailed. We've taken a look at the four emotional countries of control, fun, perfect, and peace. Before entering into a relationship with anyone, especially a romantic one, you need to answer those 7 questions. And part of that involves knowing what emotional country the other person is from, as well as your own. The Bible states in Proverbs 14:4, where there are no oxen, the manger is clean. But much revenue comes by strength of the ox. Wait, what? What does that mean? Well, where there are no oxen in the stall, nothing gets messy because there's nothing going on. But when they come around, there's activity and some mess to clean up. And so it is in life. The desire here is to help navigate you through the avoidable landmines that are out there. Some of us have already gone through some. We have seen all kinds of emotional IED. Knowing what country you're from is not a personality assessment. It's a practical and simple way for us to understand the environments that we've come out of and how they've impacted and influenced the environments that we go into. Family matters, and these things are important. Joshua put it this way in Joshua 24, verse 15. If you refuse to serve Yahweh, then choose today whom you'll serve. Would you prefer the gods your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates, or will it be the gods of the Amorites in whose land you live now? But as for me and my family, we will serve Yahweh. What Joshua is saying is, if you want to follow the ways of the shipwrecked lives of people from your past or your present, feel free to do so. But as for me and those with me, we're going to follow Yahweh, because he has a path that will lead us to fruitfulness, prosperity, and success in life, as well as navigating those landmines that the enemy has put out there. At Tushiyah Life Ministries, we present sound wisdom for a successful walk. Shalom.